The time when you probably thought your injury list was changing, it's great. Sometimes feel you black caps, ladders.
Yeah, black cutters, ladders, mirrors, all sorts of things. Look, it's footy. Just what happens. You know, you unfortunately you'd much rather deal with Adam, but I think it's it does create you some problems. But you're used to solving those problems as much as you can in any footy season. But this one's 2 weeks ago. I said I feel like we nearly got back to our best list available, bar Todd. Gee, it changes in a short period of time, doesn't it?
So what do you do with the captain? Is there any thought?
I will give him a chance to see how he is, but if there's any risk or any that he can't handle the issues that he's got with his hand, we just wouldn't play him. So it'll be simple. We won't make that call until later in the week. But Connor, he's the captain. He gets the choice on that, and he's got to be able to do what he needs to do. And I'll trust him to make that decision.
So how do you handle selection? Is it you keep going with the way you have been going, keep integrity of selection, pick the informed players, or when do you start thinking for a bigger?
Yeah, no, we'll.
No, it's not yours. It's
I think I heard a bit of Chris's stuff. Is that we will always pick the best team available for us to give us the best chance to play, and our focus will remain on being as good as we possibly can be every week, whilst the season's alive and played, and that will be the case. I think if you look at the numbers now with. If Connor happens to go out this week, we could have, the 4 players have played every game for us this year. I think that would be the lowest number nearly in the competition. So we're always exploring the list, and it's not just going to be right to the end. And I get the idea that, there's a time where you're looking at the youth, but we've done that. We've looked at a lot of our youth already this year, and we're still, there's still maybe 1 or 2 that we do look at, but that will be based on they give us the best chance to win.
So who put up their hand in the Sanfl in your eyes?
Well, Dylan's pretty good. We kicked 7, so that's certainly one person. But I think Mead's been really good for us down there for a good period. Solo's been very good down there for a good period of time. So we've got some respectable form down there that we can lean on and pull back into the side and give us a good chance.
How's Jace?
Horn Francis? Or Burgoyne? Sorry, I wasn't sure.
I mean, the club's been really strong, but how as a coach do you, support him through? Yeah,
we do everything you would expect us to do. We put our arms around and we make sure we support in every human possible way that we can, because I've sat in this seat a few times and had to talk around what's happened again. I think the club's taken a really strong position on this, and Chris been really clear. Jace himself, clearly dealing with that stuff is unfair for a start, but he's doing as well as he can do, and we'll support him with everything we've got to do that. But at some point, we need to stop it.
Does it frustrate you? I mean, over your journey, 13 years, has much changed in doing that? It seems to get gotten worse.
I don't think anything's changed. That's what's really frustrating, and I think that's why we as a club are making this a bit more. There's got to be some other way to change this. Legally, you've got to have some responsibility. You've got to have driving cars, you've got to have responsibility. You've got to have responsibility. And if you've got no responsibility, what's going to stop you? What's going to stop you from being that person? So someone has to stop them. And we're not going to give up on stopping that.
How proud are you of the club? It would be easy for a club to come out and obviously condemn it, but the fact that the club's actually come out and demanded change, how proud of you? What does that say about this club?
I think we've always been a leader in that space. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of Indigenous boys play for our football club, which is a great thing for our footy club. We're so proud of our players, and and I think we're going to do everything we can to show them that every day that we're here, and led by the top down. This club will always take a big lead in protecting our players, and particularly our Indigenous players, from that type of treatment. It's just enough said, I reckon.
The club has been at the front of, this conversation. Does the league and maybe other clubs still have quite a way to go to maybe catch up to where Adelaide is at the moment in regards to this conversation? Yeah,
my simple answer is yes. I think they do. And I think they unfortunately let things just... Every day goes by, we forget. And we shouldn't forget. I think that's not right.
Obviously, we saw a similar situation with Willie earlier in the year. Have you seen Willie get around Jason offering support in the last couple
Clearly, as you would expect, all the Indigenous boys are there to support, like all their teammates are, but there's that extra special bond that those boys have, and they're always there. We can't begin to understand how they feel, but we know that they all understand, because they've all, unfortunately, been exposed to it. So they'll be there for each other.
How's the other Jace, though?
Horn Francis? Yeah, I just seen him just a minute ago. He hobbled in on his crutches, so his surgery's all done, and he's on the road to recovery, which is really important. he's pretty brave the way he got through that game with his foot. He didn't actually. We actually didn't. I did my press conference and still didn't know that was the issue. And
Well, he didn't know either.
no, he didn't. And that's what I'm saying. It says something about how his mental strength is, but he got through the game and was really, really important for us. But we'll let him recover and we'll make some assessments as he goes through his rehab.
You said you had some emotion when Sam did his knee about knowing it was the last game that you coached him. Do you feel similar about guys like Jason?
Oh yeah, well, hopefully, look, I'm not sure whether it is or it isn't his last game this year, but it may well be, and there's a number of those players in the last 2 weeks. Sam's was the first and obvious one. I love all the players that I've been involved with and the players that I coach, and they're not my good moments to think about not being involved with them for much longer. But my good moments are still around. I know what they are as people. I know how they'll respond, and I know they'll recover really well, and they'll be great players for the footy club for the future.
Like to upset the Hawks' finals chances this week?
Yeah, not so much any team or any particular. I just want us to play well, and I said that for the last little period of time. I just want us to play well. Playing Hawthorn down at Launceston is a really big challenge. When they almost unbeatable down there at times, but we look forward to the challenge, and we know that if we play the right way, we can certainly challenge them.
There's some mixed views on what Hawthorn is or isn't. How do you rate or regard them this week?
Yeah, I rate every team that we come up against as a high quality team in the comp, and clearly, the ladder's sorting itself out big time, and they're amongst us. They're a part of any part of the top half of the ladder, I think, and their ability to play the game is capable of beating every team in the competition. So we know how good they are, but it's a pretty tight group up the top.
A lot of history between the two clubs, especially in recent years. Do you approach this week any differently?
No. Look, as I said last week after my press conferences, every game for me in the last little bit's going to have some sort of story to it. Clearly, there's a little bit of history with Hawthorn and Port. It doesn't matter. We go out there and play, and it just helps you talk about the game, I think. And for us, we go out there with the approach to try and do our absolute best against a high quality team, a team that's been growing all the time.
Is there any healing that needs to happen there?
With who?
With Port and Hawthorn, with
Why?
yourself and then Willie. I know heading into the last game you and Sam hadn't spoken. Do you feel like there's...
No, I don't. Look, I think both clubs understand that we're competitive, and I don't think we don't need to sit there and go through every little moment in footy to go, well, Sheeds waved his jacket many years ago. There's things that go on. It's good for the game. Look, honestly, I don't think you'd find Hawthorn or Port Adelaide have any big issue with it other than we're competitive and we want to beat each other.
How's Willie's headspace going into the game? Obviously, last time he played Hawthorn, that's when
well,
to the surface.
Willie's really struggled physically over the last couple of weeks. Willie won't play this week, so Willie won't be a part of the team that plays this week. He'll be, he hasn't been able to train. He hasn't been able to get any conditioning into his body for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he's at a level now that's hurting him too much. He can't play at the level he needs to play at. So Willie will, get himself and gets through some training and get himself back and playing, and playing in the Sanfl if that's what it needs to be this week. He will do that to gain the conditioning that he needs to play at his level. He's such a good player, and we'll support him now. And he's tried to do everything he could in the last few weeks to get through the game, but just goes to show you just got to put some training in.
What's physically holding him back?
He had some issue with a foot only 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he just hasn't been able to get on the grass. And tried to play alone, and that just hasn't helped. And again, he's tried his best to give us what he's got. Ultimately, what he's doing at the moment is not enough, and we need to help him get back into some form.
What about Ollie Wines and Alira Lear?
Sorry?
What about Ollie Wines and Alira Lear? CDs said yesterday they were carrying stuff too. Will they
Yeah, they should be okay to get through and play. They'll train today, and they'll be managed through the training today, but we expect they'll both be there.
Sorry, just back on Willie. What do you know? He'll spend a couple of weeks there. You mentioned coming back to the Sanfl.
Well, is
there any indication of how long he needs to build back up?
No, he probably needs more than a week. I'd say he needs a few weeks to get himself going, I'd imagine, but he's got to be able to train first and foremost. Until he can do that, I mean, no player's really that good these days that they can get through without training for a month or so and then expect to be able to play footy. Footy's just too hard.
So will he have a rest, or
No, he'll play in the Sanfl. If he can get through and do what he needs to do at training, that'll be the critical piece, which we expect he's getting to that stage now. So we absolutely think we can get through some training now. So that will help him. Without training, it clearly hasn't helped him.
Considering there's a limited time you've got coaching here, Anything you've kept in the bottom drawer, you say, when the time's right, I want to do this in a game just to see what happens?
No, not really.
No one.
Not allowed to play. I'm not allowed to put 18 or 19 or 20 on the ground. I do a few of those things. I don't know.
We've seen that before anyway.
Yeah, no. I don't. No, look. We are who we are, and as I've said for a couple of weeks, I just want us to play in our style as best we possibly can over the next 6 or 7 or 8 weeks, whatever it may be. And look, to be honest, I'm just going to embrace the opportunity to be doing the job that I still do and still love doing. So, and with the team that I love doing it with.
Last couple of
We're hearing reports this morning that Barry Robin has passed away. Obviously, before you came to South Australia, his time in the Sanfl, but what impact has he made, and how important is he to South Australia?
Look, being a non-South Australian, but I've also known the name Barry Robin. Yes, I've only just heard as I was walking down to this press conference. It's a really sad day for particularly his family, but for South Australian football, we've had Russell and now Barry. They're the two names that I've always known, that have been so big in South Australia. Just an enormous amount of respect. He's by all reports, I didn't know Barry myself personally, but by all reports, he's just a super person as well. So, rest in peace.
And just quickly on Trav, obviously with the injury list, the selection's not so much a problem, but going towards the end of the season, what's your conversations with him about? Do you let him play on next season, or is there a tap on the shoulder that needs to happen?
There's a problem with that. I'm not in charge next season, so he'll work through that. And I think I've read Trav, and Trav will do what he's done every year in my time. He'll take the time to reflect on what his form's like, what he thinks he can do and what he can't do, and then him, Josh and Cripper would have some sort of conversation. But I wouldn't expect that to be done in a hurry with Travis. I think he would just enjoy the opportunity to be out there playing.